If you have a high stress level, you are triggering your immune system, your adrenaline system and the cortisol and all that like your endocrine system basically has a direct effect on the immune system. They go hand in hand. Okay. And like, it felt like these people are purposely stressing me out. So it was only serious with one family member, but other family members tagged on and like went to war with me, which was so weird to me because I was literally painting a picture for one person because I was losing function of my hands and it was heartbreaking. The only thing I wanted to do was make art. It was the only thing I wanted to do. It wasn't like anything else. I realized how much I love to do art, how much I love to paint and sketch. And that's another, like, it's just been hard. It's hard to lose like the coping skills and like the hobbies that you once had to not be able to do them all the time. Like, I will literally tape my fingers up and my hands up and it will literally knock out my hands for days. It's extremely painful, but I love to paint and I love to draw. And I was literally like, with this said, with the health problems I was having, I still was painting this one family member a painting of like a beautiful view of their home inspired. And then I remember they were teaming up with this other family member who was being like more overtly abusive and awful. And I'm like, why would they team up with this person that's been telling my daughter really inappropriate things, saying that I'm abusive for taking the phone, saying that, this disease is in my head and everything else. And my poor daughter's like being confused by this. Like, we'd be okay when she'd be home and we'd be figuring out my new normal again. And then she'd go sleep over at one of these houses and she'd come home. And I'm not blaming her at all. Like, I understand. Like, first of all, she's a grieving preteen that's dealt with a lot of shit in her life. And these people are manipulating her mind. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. So with that said, so I cut off this one family member back in September. That was it for me, the birthday party. And then the other one started treating me just as bad. And my friend at this point, my former best friend at this point, was defending me tooth and nail. Because, don't you know, as soon as they team up, it's, oh, I have Adderall missing. First of all, guys, full disclosure, I got prescribed Adderall a few years ago. I have adult onset ADHD now. What it's really from is the TBI when I hit the windshield. Took a few years, so I didn't have dementia. After all, I had ADHD. So be careful what you mock, because early in my life, I remember being like, ADHD is not real, right? Like, it's kind of real. It's not that bad. Hit your frontal lobe, okay? And get like severe ADHD symptoms and stuff. I had old neuropsych and all that. And so the Adderall actually slowed me down. It slowed me down and made it so I could actually like focus on tasks and stuff like that. And I have direct proof of like 2 different neurodiagnostic tests proving that I do a lot better on the Adderall. Now, the thing is, I've become disabled. So I've needed the Adderall less, and when this was all happening, I came down on my dose. That was my choice. That was my decision, right? And now people are claiming, so I'm like, whatever. At this point, I'm like, I'm unbothered. This is nothing new. This is what they do. The first thing they accuse is drugs. Which is ironic because they're on a multitude of drugs and one of them's a drug dealer. So I talk about projection, right? So I know that this is warfare at this point. I know that they've declared war in their minds and there's going to be a fucking smear campaign. So my best friend at the time goes up to their partner's work and is like, hey, this is not true and you need to keep a lookout because they're going to call DCF. And then the partner said, no, I actually caught them talking about DCF in the kitchen and no, it's not going to happen. I put a stop to it. Okay. So other people had heard it too, and my daughter found out. My daughter was really upset that they would do this, and they would threaten to do this. Okay. This is exactly what they do. So my friend and I said, no, you didn't put a stop to it. Just wait and see. Okay? So this person's defending me tooth and nail, and November rolls around. Now, I was still letting my daughter see family at this point. Once a month, I'd let her go spend a weekend at family's house so she could spend time with like the other kids in the family and stuff, and not ruin that relationship, right? But this whole time, those family members will not talk to me appropriately about my child. Everything is rude, degrading, really, really nasty, right? So there's no communication. So I'm already like, okay, if this is going to continue like this, where you can't even like talk to me cordially when it comes to the children, like I was already on the line of being like, I'm pulling the rug out. This is not healthy, right? And again, they're feeding my daughter all this unhealthy stuff, that my disease isn't real, that it's in my head, that I'm abusing her, and then like spoiling her, right? Which is like fine, like buy her stuff, that's fine. But don't spoil her in order to manipulate her and then devalue our relationship, mother and child, and make it seem like I'm crazy, I'm delusional, all this other stuff. When I'm being the appropriate parent and I have to set limits, and there's gonna be some rules, and you know, we don't get everything we want, you know. It's an unfortunate fact of life, but that's not how it was going. So they're directly undermining my parenting. So what ended up happening is the issue at my friend's. Now, I never wanted this shit to come out. Let me be abundantly clear. But now where the kids were silenced, I got dragged. My best friend of decades turned their back on me. Didn't just turn their back, stabbed me in the back multiple times while pretending to be my friend. Okay? They were a huge key player in the way things turned out in this situation. So, and I didn't even know this until like my birthday rolled around, which is horrifying, right? So naive. But basically, you know, I trusted her. So my daughter went there to sleep over from Saturday to Sunday, and she sent them to her ex-husband's girlfriend's apartment, which I love her. I trust that girl. I still trust her. She's not an issue. What I wasn't told is that the ex was there, and the ex is a creep. And the girls were texting and calling me at 4 a.m. from this house, calling him a pedo, saying he's threatening to get into bed with them, and he made some other comments that made them uncomfortable. And keep in mind, these girls did not text anyone else in my family or my former best friend, who lived 5 minutes down the road. Okay? And neither one of them even felt comfortable talking to her about it. Okay? Because she questions him like the police. She already like didn't talk to her kids about difficult kind of stuff, as far as like, I mean, we're talking like even like, hey, you know, your period will cause you to become pregnant if you have sex. Like, not even like the basics. Okay? Just nope. Learn it from the internet, whatever. These are like kind of the red flags that had come up over time. Letting her child date since they were like 7 or 8, have boyfriends, like just stuff that's always like kind of like, but this was the last straw for me. And so I picked up the girls, even though I was sick. They didn't want to come over. Now keep that in mind. They do not want to come to my house for the weekend because I am so inflamed. I don't have a medication that's controlling my disease yet. An immense amount of pain. So it's not fun to hang out with me, right? So at that time. But they still call me. They still were texting me incessantly. And my daughter wouldn't leave without her friend. Would not leave without her. Okay? So I picked them up, and I said to them, I said, listen, anything you say in this car, we will keep confidential, which I have. I've kept a ton of it confidential. So if you think what I'm sharing is bad, it's bad. And I hate this. I hate this. I hate it. I never, ever, ever wanted this shit to get out public. Ever. Ever. But I was made out to be crazy and delusional. That was grounds in these false DCF calls that I'll get onto in a moment. That was used as a reason. Like, oh yeah, she is crazy. She's delusional. Because I stood up for the kids. And when they were silenced, let me back up. So once the information was disclosed to me and the amount of it, it was a nice day in November, 11/11/22. Surprisingly mild out, surprisingly warm. And so I drove down to the beach because that's my safe place. That's my emotional balancing place and whatever. And I try not to like rub it on other people, but I try to like follow Jesus and do what Jesus would do, and know Jesus would not be doing what I've done a few times. But I'm not perfect. I'm not him. I'm by no means perfect or any better than anybody else. Like, I'm not. I would never try to throw it in your face or whatever else. You can believe what you believe, right? But I'm praying and I'm like, please, 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 like, give me a way of dealing with this so the girlfriend is safe, so my ex-best friend will receive it okay, the girls will be safe, the DCF won't have to get involved, because I know how traumatizing they are and I know how full of shit they are, right? So I'm sitting there in prayer. And I sit there. I probably look crazy. I'm like building a sandcastle. I don't care anymore. Building a sandcastle, just deep in thought, deep in prayer. And finally, after like just sitting and meditating on it for a while, it came to me. And I was able to think up a whole safety plan, actually, that was pretty rock solid. It involved getting Dove involved, but not like the state. And that would have got, this this pig out of the house, off the lease, right? And they could have done this quickly with just the evidence that was in the phones alone. And they would have been able to get Dove in there really quick, be able to get like restraining orders with their advocates pretty quickly. And then with the restraining orders, get him off the lease, get him out of the apartment pretty rapidly because they move quick. They could even done it while the other kids were at school, all right? And it would have opened up services for the girlfriend without getting DCF involved, because, by the way they treat domestic violence survivors is horrific. Horrific. They treat abuse survivors worse than the abusers sometimes. And God forbid you're a man that's been abused, forget about it. There's no treatment for you. No, suck it up. Suck it up, buttercup. So I thought it was a pretty good plan. You know what I mean? And at least give the girlfriend the option of what to do, right? Like, at least give the person that has to live with this person the option of what to do, right? But nope. My ex-best friend robbed this lady and the kids of that option. The first thing she does, and I brought this up non-confrontationally, calmly, like I worked on the other side of this. I've seen what it does to victims. Okay, I've seen it's not nice. It's not okay. Okay? And you silence a victim once, especially of any type of like sexual harassment or sexual abuse, right? There's many who will never talk about it again. So how you treat that first encounter is crucial. Crucial. Even if you think someone's lying. Okay? So, shame on me for thinking that my ex-best friend would have the humbleness to do this, right? So even when she responded with, why would you think I would allow that? I said, I don't think that you would allow that ever. How would you know? If he's grooming and gaslighting girls to seem like this kind of behavior is normal and okay, how would you know? Right? I can't believe you'd think that, Oh, I just questioned the kids and they said you're overreacting, you're overdoing it, Yeah, no shit they are with the way you're fucking acting, right? Went right to the alleged abuser and said, that Julie's accusing you of this, what the fuck's going on? Literally literally the last thing you do in this scenario. Literally the last thing you do is alert the alleged perpetrator. Like, this was like life altering for me because I was like, whoa, this best friend I've had of decades is not what I thought they were. Like, whoop. It was life altering for me. Okay. So I'm at a loss, right? So I'm like, fuck, like, what do I do? Right. My other best friends that like I've been close with since I was a kid, like one of them has like multiple kids in, works full time. You know what I mean? The other one, again, works full time, lives their life with their partner. It's like, it's, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I don't have anyone to share this with that it's not going to like, that it would be like appropriate that can help. So I literally reached out to one of my family members, even though they were being mean to me for so long and treating me badly. I'm like hurting myself with all the hand motions. So I reached out thinking that considering the circumstances that they would be more sensitive to it. So I hit them up on 11/16. Now, mind you, the day before I end up in the hospital. Not anything crazy at the ER. And I'm like, I went in and I'm like, look, I'm definitely like, I'm in a flare. I'm like, but I feel like this side of my collarbone was already eroding, right? Actively dissolving. Osteolysis, it's called. So, I was accused of having grand delusions of that. You can kind of see like how funky it's shaped and stuff. But, so I was like, can we just check that it's not progressing? Because it feels like it's progressing. It felt like a cheese grater was on the end, right? So what they find is not only is it progressing, it's eroding at this side too, which is not even typical of rheumatoid arthritis, okay? Not even like in the late end stages, right? So I'm like, what the hell, right? So they actually gave me like a short script of Valium. They gave me Toradol because Valium's a muscle relaxant just to get basically the muscles and tendons relaxed off that bone to hopefully like help a little bit. And it was helpful. It actually gave me somewhat of a quality of life until all this shit rained down. And then it was basically like fucking didn't work. So I find out my disease is worse. I find out my best friend is a monster. An egotistical monster that will put their ego before the children's safety. And then I find out basically with this conversation I had with my family member who I was letting take my child for 1 week and a month and stuff, that they're a monster too. Because I explained the situation. I said, hey, listen, there was an issue. Can you please come meet me in person so we can talk about this? Like, it's a sensitive matter. And it involves a sleepover Ari had over the weekend. Now, obviously, this family member knows right away who I'm talking about because I only allowed sleepovers at family members and then this person's house. Okay? So she knows right away who I'm talking about. But I don't say exactly what happened, right? I left details out and whatever else. And I'm told if it's so fucking bad, and I hear other family members giggling in the back. If it's so bad, call DCF on them. Click. Of course that's what they would say, right? Because that's their fucking end-all be-all fucking answer to everything, right? So I'm not calling DCF on my friends. First of all, she's already denying it anyways. And like I said, they cause more abuse and trauma than anything else, right? I gave them the option like to call Deb, everything else. So I was like, fuck this. Like I'm taking my daughter and we're going to get to our therapy. We have multiple like different therapies lined up. As what I mean by that is like we were on a wait list for family trauma therapy because hello, right? Not to mention like her father dying and then the guy I was with for 6 years dying and my body dying, my family being as toxic as they are, losing, everything that that I made and built up, losing all that, having to go into a homeless shelter for a while because again, my family wouldn't take in my daughter when she needed to be taken in, right? Only when she was of age and could like babysit and actually be a help and people please and make their homes more fun to be around because she's always, adjusting her personality to cheer the adults up in the situation, right? So basically use her energy, right? So on the 16th, the day after I leave the ER, because I was like, oh no, fuck this. This is out of control. This is like progressing way on. I don't give a fuck if my family believes or what they believe or not. This is not good. This is not good, right? So I'm like, I give them a chance, and I brought it to their attention. They treated me like that, so I texted them. I have the text. Hopefully I can insert it, because I'm hoping that I can learn some basic editing skills before I post this, but who fucking knows, right? So I text them, okay, I'm done. Don't contact me or Ariella anymore. And the plan is we're gonna focus on our therapies, personal therapy, getting through the grieving process, how to basically like deal with having a disabled mom, and you know what I mean, just and the family shit that went on, and how unhealthy they were for putting it in her head that I was abusive and that I was doing this and undermining all my parenting. Like, we needed a professional to help us work this shit out, for sure. We needed both our own, right, which we both had, but also like a family trauma therapist to like bring it all together, right? And then also I had been signed up, I even signed up for a parenting class that her therapy office was running. It was like a parent support group, right, that I never even got to start because of the bomb that was dropped on our life just weeks later, right? Days later, days, right? So, I mind you, I have emails to confirm all this. I have all the evidence in the world, okay? So, days later, literally that Friday, those main two family members, the ones that were laughing at me on the phone, telling me to call DCF on my former best friend, the ones I went no contact with, got restraining orders on me. Mind you, these people are not small. Okay, I'm the runt of the litter. I'm like the same size as my mom and my niece. Like, we're the runts of the litter. Like, there's a runt in every generation, right? So they're big people, broad people, strong, you know. And dare I say masculine? I mean, if they're a guy, that's normal, but you know, if they're a guy, right? If they're a guy, they might be female, masculine females, right? I have joint disease. I don't look it. I guess I still look like strong and able-bodied to people, which like I do have like some muscle here left, but the muscle's kind of like ineffective because like the tendon, you can kind of see it. The tendon is supposed to like come all the way down here, and it's just a lot of issues. So a lot of shifting and stuff. Maybe you could see it with this lighting. Okay. So this belly of this muscle, right, is actually supposed to be here where this fucking weirdness is. And you can actually, it almost like even looks fucking broken, like right there. And I wouldn't be surprised if that is a stress fracture, because that area hurts all the time and I have some severe nerve damage there. But anyways, okay, I can't fucking attack anybody. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Certainly not a friggin' 250-pound person. Mind you, some of these people have guns and ammos and unlimited amounts of cash. Okay, I'm poor in my apartment and can't shower some days. So they get their restraining orders, and I think like, okay, no problem. I'm going to go in for the extension hearing and show them my doctor's notes, the letter my doctor wrote for me, because I told them everything that was going on. I told all my Tufts doctors exactly what was going on with my family and stuff, because I knew I was going to need their support, and I knew that this was going to be a fucking doozy, right? I knew this was going to be a doozy because of the lengths they were going to attack their disabled family member. Excuse me, I need my kombucha. So, with that said, that Monday, after the restraining orders, the initial restraining orders were granted, not only do I get a call from a DCF investigator, I call Rockland Police to kind of like ask them what to do, and this woman officer starts screaming at me, telling me I'm already breaking the restraining order, and they've already gotten several calls. So they were already making false claims that I was breaking the restraining order, okay? Trying to get me arrested. Mind you, I just got medical evidence. I'm eroding at both sides of this. Part of my rotator cuff is torn off at this point. It's extremely painful. But the thing is this pressure on different arteries, like your jugular, your carotid go right through here. You have wicked important nerves that go here, like go through here in your heart. Like if I got aggressively arrested because some officer's having a bad day and they get a call that I'm breaking a restraining order, like that could like severely harm me. That could do permanent damage. If not, maybe snap a friggin' jugular or something and put my life in danger. Like I'm not even like being dramatic. Like, so I did explain this to my local police, Rockland Police, and they've been wonderful. I've been very understanding. And, but I got like 3-4 more visits to my door that month, right? Between, Thanksgiving and Christmas, okay? Multiple times, right? So I went for the hearing and they're claiming I'm crazy, that I'm texting accusations, threatening to report to state agencies that they're committing fraud. I did say that, but that's not grounds to get a restraining order. A restraining order is supposed to be to prevent imminent physical harm. That's it. I went on a social media tear accusing them of calling DCF SSDI. They did, and I have that proof as well. Still not enough for a 209A. Mental health decline, making up scenarios, which I believe to be true, sending emails, texts, handwritten letters. I did send her a handwritten letter saying like how hurt I was and this and that. Saying I will hurt them. I didn't say I was going to hurt them. I said I don't want to hurt them by reporting their fraud, because even though they can afford it and they make a shit ton of money under the table and they're doing all kinds of tax fraud and shit, I can't use the kids as pawns. I would never hurt the children. Like, and they know this. They know that's where my line is drawn, right? Somehow they still get one because it was 2 against 1, right? The other one's even crazier. Go in. Judge Flynn of Quincy, you need to retire. Literally, go retire. Go get your depends and go retire because you are unfit to be a judge. He literally would. I wish I could afford the transcripts. I hope I get SSDI soon. I hope I win my appeal because I'm going to buy those transcripts just to really rub it in everyone's place. I'm going to buy all these court transcripts so I can prove like the truth. I said, well, can you first read my letter from my rheumatologist and Tufts, like explaining like how I don't have the physical even strength to be harming anyone? He goes, no. I said, excuse me? I go, but I filed for reasonable accommodations. I don't want your reasonable accommodations. I'm not looking at any letter. What do you need to say? I'm so taken aback at that. And mind you, 2 days before this, I find out because the eroding on both ends, that's indicative of ankylosing spondylitis, or the umbrella term is called spondyloarthropathy, spondyloarthritis, which 4 different arthritises fall under. It's a whole thing, right? Rheumatology is a motherfucker. So I found out 2 days before that I have ankylosing spondylitis as well. Okay? And they get their restraining orders fucking extended, right? That's that. So I'm like, whatever, right? Multiple calls to the cops saying that I'm threatening them, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Finally, I went and filed a police report down at Rockland Police Station and like explained to them, I said, listen, I think my family members are doing this to try to get guardianship of my child. They're making moves to do this. They've done this, not the guardianship thing, but I had a gist of what they were doing, right? The way they were acting, the things they were telling my child and stuff, like really toxic shit. Sad thing is we had a great Thanksgiving with her uncle, and like it was fun. They're very like loving and welcoming and have been there for us. Like me and Ari have had a really hard few years. They always make us feel like welcomed and loved, and I appreciate that so much. And her uncle's partner can cook. Woo! So well. Delicious. So Christmas comes around. I had told my daughter she could go see her family members. Yeah, I did that. Trying to be like the bigger person so she could see the kids. And also, I'm getting guilted by outside family members if I don't do that. So other family members, well, these core family members were doing this shit, are telling me, oh, are you really going to isolate her from the family? So everyone's telling my daughter, oh, your mom's going to isolate you from the family. You're never going to see us again, da-da-da-da-da. Literally. I wish I could get the friggin' text and like subpoena the phone to prove all this shit. Like literally filling her head with garbage, right? No, like we need to focus on ourselves and therapy. Okay? That's what we need, a professional to help us work this shit out. Right? And so I let her go. Actually, one of the family members, she went on Christmas. It was absolutely no issue at all. And, they had her back literally at the time I asked, not a minute later. So I was like, wow, okay, like maybe a little growth here. Like maybe I could let Ari go there once in a blue moon on holidays or whatever else, seeing that went so well. Now she goes next day. Now my gut is telling me, do not go, do not go, do not go, do not go. Don't go. And I couldn't provide a lot for her this Christmas, and it was like devastating because she deserves the world and more. She really, really does. And it's like I haven't been able to like provide the excess gifts and everything else, like just the basics. And it's just been really hard. And like I have family members, that do commit fraud, some of them, and deal drugs to get extra money. And the other one, it's past fraud, and they're so spoiled and ungrateful for their partners that like the partner literally has been very blessed in life, has worked very hard, and wants for nothing. So now this family member wants for nothing. And instead of being grateful for this, like the inflation isn't even touching them. They don't even realize there's inflation going on because they're that spoiled as an adult, and there's no gratitude. And it's just bye. So they were able to like provide stuff that I couldn't, which is fine. Like that's fine. I was happy. I literally told my daughter, she literally looked at me and she said, Mom, I know that they buy my love, so just let me go get the gifts and I will be home. So I let her go. My father drove her and I didn't see her again. TCF was called right after the restraining orders. It was reported I'm delusional. I think my bones are eroding. I think Christmas trees are devils. I'm abusing Ari. I'm abusing drugs. I threaten the children. I threaten them. They even have restraining orders. Like they literally planned this so strategically. Okay? So while my daughter's there, at the end of the day, because I had a friend, another friend of me, someone that was pretending to be my friend to get information, like confirmed. They're like, no, we had a great day. Like all the kids were there. Like I went there with my kids. Like everyone had an awesome day. Nobody called DCF. Like everyone, and I do believe they were being like honest to what they knew at this point. And my father confirmed the same exact thing, right? But my daughter told me, because my daughter called me bawling her eyes out the next day, saying, I'm so sorry. This is on the 27th. And I'm like, honey, what's the matter? Like, it's okay. Like, what's going on? And, it's sick too, because they ordered her a like really fancy pair of sneakers that go upwards of $3,000. But, my former best friend claimed in the comment section it was only $200. But the same thing applies. I cannot like afford these extra things for my daughter, right? And she's a sneakerhead. Thanks, Dad. Well, that's to her father. Instilled it as a baby. And then my ex did too. Like, sneakerhead, be a sneakerhead, right? Which is fine, whatever. But like, they know that's her like soft spot. So they order her sneaker and then immediately take her away to go call DCF. So that's what she was calling and crying about because she had called. And was like, oh yeah, me and my mom do fight. Yeah, like, right? How fucking, on Christmas, dude. On Christmas. And mind you, DCF, I get this fucking naive little fucking 20-year-old twerp who, like, can't even, like, she can't tell the truth for the life of her. Like, she's not, like, she doesn't actually, like, go to the school and, like, or go to, like, the therapist and stuff and, like, get information to really, like, make sure shit's true, right? I had a bunch of character references that I wanted them, like, a few of them being the people that ran the shelter, the state-run shelter that me and Ari had to live at for 2 years, right? That had to see us through extremely difficult times and false allegations, mind you. So they were like a huge piece of getting my side of the story. Nope, just didn't go get those references. Literally just went with the family members who were attacking me and my former best friend, who was faking to still be my best friend at this point. In real life, to me, and to DCF. So they're all making these bold claims, and the nail in the coffin for them was, I guess, when my best friend said, well, she really has been acting weird. She's acting crazy. She's having delusions, da-da-da. So they had asked me, now, before I knew all this, I didn't fucking know that, right? I just know some bullshit fucking claims being made, and I can prove that they're wrong, right? I took a drug test. I had no problem with that. Like, all my levels were normal, right? And so I'm like, whatever, this will pass, right? This will pass. Like, this will pass. And TCF's like, oh, will you allow your daughter to stay at your best friend's to cool off? You know, I really didn't like this because we usually reconcile. Like, a night or two, okay, but, like, we usually reconcile and talk about our arguments and our fights and stuff, and I'll be like, for example, like, if we got into an argument, I would be like, hey, I'm wicked sorry, like, I'm in a flare and I'm stressed, and I shouldn't have said A, B, and C to you, or I shouldn't have approached this way, right, or I shouldn't have come at you at this time, right, but, like, to hold accountability and to speak honestly to each other, right, and it was great because the effect it had on my daughter is, like, when she would be like a little, you know, mean, nasty, right? It's the age, right? We're female. We're not blaming her. But she would come to me like a day later and be like, hey, Mom, I'm sorry. You know what? Like, I was stressed from school and whatever else. And I took that out on you and whatever else. So we were working on having like an open, honest communication, right? This is like what they ruined, right? This is what they fucking dropped a bomb on. So I'm like, yeah, sure, fine, whatever, right? She never came home. She never came home. Because on New Year's Eve, now I'm trying to go to the courts and stuff and get any type of like help or anything because like I am disabled, but since I don't look disabled, nobody gives a fuck. Basically, the courts don't care these days. There's no lawyer of the days anymore. There's nothing. There's nothing. You're supposed to be appointed a lawyer when these cases get opened up on you. No, they didn't even appoint me a lawyer. No. So, on New Year's Eve, my daughter's still at my friend's house, or so I thought, because on the 28th, I find out my family member that has a restraining order on me went and picked up my child. Oops, sorry, I'm getting too motiony. Went and picked up my child from my friends and drove her to the other family member who has a restraining order on me. And I can't go there. I can't call them. I called my friend. She's acting fucking dumb. Like a fucking stupid airhead that she is. God forgive me. So she's sent there. I called the police. I called the police in my town. I called DCF, the whole nine. Nobody will help me. No one. And I guess, like, friggin' the cops in the town that they were totally fine with, like, I guess, supposedly they called or did a wellness check. But I'm like, I have custody. Like, she doesn't have, I don't know what she's telling you guys. I have full custody of my daughter. Her father passed away. So, literally, there's nobody who can even contest this custody, right? And they're acting like we're divorced parents or something. I'm like, this is a family member. Like, my daughter, like, she's being stubborn and doesn't want to leave the kids. Like, she doesn't have permission to be there. Man, DCF did nothing about this, right? So I end up calling one of the family members in the evening to have a restraining order on me, the one that transported her, because I'm like, hey, like, you transported my child, you know you have a restraining order on me. Like, are you planning on transporting her somewhere neutral where I can get her? They were like, oh, yeah, that's, of course I will. My bad. Right? And then hung up and then went right to their fucking local police station to turn me in. So now I get a call from a lieutenant of that station. I explain my side of the story, everything, what I tried to do. He's like, you need to call that other police station back and ask for the chief of police immediately and find out why they didn't go grab your child and bring her to a neutral place. So at this point, I don't know if these people have connections with the police. In the courts, it seems that way. I mean, even the case they had for the restraining orders somehow got moved out of Plymouth County to Norfolk County, and the judge couldn't explain it. None of the lawyers could understand it. None of the clerks could understand it in either office, right? Just no idea. Because two of the parties, me and one of the people over the restraining order, are in Plymouth County. There's literally no reason for it to be in Norfolk County. Yet that's where it got moved. And that's where my medical letter would be. I'm not saying, like, whatever. I'm just saying it's a little weird when this shit starts to add up and how much stuff of mine is being ignored, right? So, that was that. Now, so she goes back to my friend's house, supposedly. I'm, like, talking to my daughter. She's getting, like, a little antsy and stuff. She's getting a little, we're going back and forth. We would be fine. And then we're arguing. And she's starting to say things like, but you did abuse me. You did abuse me. You take my phone away. And I'm like, honey, that's not abuse. But, like, that's not the time to be having these conversations. It's just super unhealthy. Super unhealthy. And this is the holidays. So, on New Year's Eve, I'm sitting on my couch. Now, I'm in a massive flare at this point because between me finding out my disease is extending, the shit that happened at my best friend's ex-house that the girls got silenced about. Now, that's like whisked away, not even fucking dealt with or talked about. That's the real issue here. The shit that was being said about me, the rumors that were being spread around like my former friend groups and on to other family and to anybody who would listen, is hearing that I'm a child abusing, drug abusing, like psychopath who thinks their bones are eroding and is imagining my illness and imagining my disabilities, okay? So they're spreading all those rumors, and for some reason people believe them. And my daughter's being fed this shit. My daughter's little grieving freaking mind, where she's been through all this shit, she's going through puberty, she's growing up, her brain is forming, and they're fucking feeding her shit this, right? And the state's okay with that, right? That's perfectly fine. So on New Year's Eve, I'm like, okay, let her stay for New Year's Eve. They can watch the ball drop, whatever. I'm sitting on my couch with the kitten, right? And we're watching a movie, and it's like 11:30 a.m. I'm still in my pajamas, my little knit fit I got for Christmas from a church. It's so comfy. It's so cute. And I'm just chilling. And I get the cop knock. Now, I know what the cop knock is because I had the cops called on me so many times by these restraining order holders trying to get me arrested. So now that they couldn't get me arrested and Rockland police knew what the deal really was, and I went in with my medical records and explained my side of the story, and so they stopped showing up at my house. So I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what law did I break now, right? So I open the door and I'm like, hey, what law did I break? They're like, oh, no, we're not here for that. I'm like, oh, okay. We're just checking on you, seeing how you are. And it was this sergeant. He was wicked nice. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, no, I'm sick. I go, I don't feel well. Like, I have a severe autoimmune disease. I go, and I'm like, from the drama my family's caused and the problems that my daughter they've caused and everything else, I'm like, I don't feel well at all. I'm like, but I'm okay, like, considering. I'm like, I'm just sitting here with my kitten watching a movie. So he's like, can I come in? I'm like, yeah, sure, come in. I just show him around, show him the house. My whole house actually was spotless because one friend that I have actually that was like coming and see me and kind of like taking care of me in a sense, came over and they cleaned my entire house the night before just on a whim, just to like help me, like, because I'm still a clean freak, but I can't clean to the ways I used to. So my house is spotless. So that looked good in a sense. My room was a mess. And that's funny because when we got to my room, I'm like, one room always takes a hit. And it's true because I'd rather keep the living room, my daughter's room, the kitchen and the bathroom and all that shit clean. And if I don't have the energy to clean my room, like, so be it, because at least my daughter's room and the rest of the house is clean, right? So I explained that to him. And then we're talking about how families suck and how he's recently divorced and how he hated the holidays too. They were like traumatic for him. They had to split it between the kids. And he's telling me how he like got a new washer machine and dryer and he didn't tell his landlord and his landlord's gonna kill him. We're like laughing. We're having a good time. As good as you can, right? At a holiday morning when you don't feel good. So then we're in the kitchen and he's like, Julie, I would clear you right now if I could. And I was like, huh? Because at this point, he's been over for like a half hour. He's like, yeah. He's like, so the paramedics downstairs, like, they're going to come up. They're going to make the final decision. And I'm like, this decision's already made, isn't it? And he's like, yeah, well, the amount of phone calls we got concerning your mental health and the suicidal statements they claimed, it's made. So the paramedics come up. They start rushing me. And he kind of puts them in their place like, hey, she didn't ask for this. She didn't actually make the comments. And I was like, I have RA in almost every joint. I just found out it's spreading to my spine. I go, I might not look as sick as I am. I probably just look lazy and tired, but I move slow. I need some patience from you guys, right? So whatever. The sergeant helped me get ready, and he even went back upstairs and put the TV on for my cat and put water and food out for her. What a doll. So I go to Milton Hospital because that's my hospital, and that's the hospital I just been at about the medical stuff, right? And so go in and talking to them. I'm only there for 2 hours. So they have to take blood drug tests, urine drug tests. They have to like run the whole gamut. They have multiple people talk to. And I'm like, listen, no, I'm not suicidal. I've never been suicidal. In fact, my friend committed suicide. I don't take this shit lightly. I don't think it's funny. I'm like, I've literally been trying to get away from my family. Oh, here it is. 34-year-old female with history of migraines, depression, anxiety, past trauma. Yay. Who presents for evaluation of suicidal statements. Per patient's report, she has had ongoing battle with family where she's trying to cut off contact with them, purporting that they are saying she is making up her diagnosis of RA. She says she has ongoing diffuse joint pain followed by the chief of rheumatology. Said she'd be too weak to do anything to hurt herself or others. Denies SI, HI, all that. So with that, so positive for cannabinoids. Now, mind you, this is like a holiday where druggies do drugs. People that don't even do drugs on New Year's Eve, right? And that's what I'm under the impression of, right? Like it's a party day, take the meds, right? So this is not I was not planned to be sectioned. I had no idea this was planned. I had no idea my friggin' former best friend was part of this, right? So she calls me when I'm in the 2 hours I'm there, she happens to call me and says, oh, so-and-so got, here we go. So New Year's Eve, unplanned drug test. Okay, bottom half. All negative. Unplanned drug test. Had no idea I was being on the weekend, on a holiday. If anyone was going to be doing illicit drugs at that point, right? That would be them, right? So they sent me home. Patient here for evaluation. Deemed that her feelings were situational. She has no psychiatric acuity, warranting inpatient admission. Cleared for discharge 2 hours later. I'm told while I'm in there by my ex-best friend, oh, so-and-so got guardianship of Ari. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean they got guardianship of my daughter? What? How? Why? Where? When? What? And they're playing fucking stupid. I should have known from the fucking tone of her voice how fucking shocked she sound. She's like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't even really know. And it was like funny because the next day she's like, why are you even trying to get her back? Why am I trying to get my daughter back, bitch? I'm sorry, I actually care about my daughter. I actually care about what happens to her. I actually care how men treat her. I actually want to spend time with her. I actually spend all my fucking extra time with her because I love her and enjoy her time. I'm not escaping my kids to go get fucked up every weekend on your friggin' prescribed, you're on more prescribed drugs than anybody I know. Dependent on friggin' ridiculous amounts of medication. You'd have to be hospitalized to even come off them. Like, get the fuck out. You're drinking on them every weekend. I don't do that. I don't need to do that because I love my child. I love to spend time with her. Quality time. You just try to get rid of your fucking kids. You can't wait to. God forbid you don't have a weekend, right? I'm going to have to fucking face Jesus for this, man. But I promise you, I'm holding a lot back. I'm holding a lot back because this is different. It came from my kid, bitch. You're fucking lucky I found Jesus. Whew, sigh. So, they took my kid. And the hearing, I wasn't given a lawyer. And so I ran down for an for an emergency hearing, and it booked out 35 days, right? So, in the DCF worker is in there, right? So thing is, it wouldn't have gotten approved without DCF. They didn't even have an open case. They didn't even have a task plan, which you're supposed to get in 2 weeks. So they were supporting a guardianship when they couldn't even open a case, never mind take guardianship of my daughter themselves. Yet they were in here supporting. So I said to them multiple times, like, you guys don't have jurisdiction for that. You don't have, like, asking questions. They don't say shit, right? So just recently they admit, because the federal ADA got involved, I'm going to cut this short because this is almost a 2-hour video and probably no one's going to watch it, and that's fine. I'll make another video updating the rest, but literally, don't get given a lawyer. DCF lies about my daughter's condition, lies about me, lies about how they're doing, lies about certain court cases they got involved with because their guardian is a fucking moron and a neglectful piece of shit, amongst other things. And the thing is, I can prove it. I have proof of this stuff, and just nobody to look at it, right? It's been a nightmare. So now there's an open investigation on that worker. Thank God, because the state licensure board absolutely agreed with me that not only is she not following Massachusetts law, but she's not even following within her scope of practice. I mean, I'll actually make a separate video on DCF because that definitely needs to be heard and talked about, because where our tax dollars are going is unbelievable. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see that with the lighting, but it's like this tendon is, oh, you could almost see the rheumatoid nodules. But this fucking shit hurts every day, man. Like, this is not normal. Like, this shit hurts every fucking day. Every day. Actually, I need to stop because my joints are getting hot. I'm getting flushed. And I'll make a separate video on DCF and their role in this and how they never had jurisdiction. And since the state literally thought I was crazy because of what family members were saying and my best friend that was pretending to be my best friend. So just a little spoiler alert, the way I found out that she actually had betrayed me wasn't until my birthday, exactly 3 months after the incident had happened with her ex. And I was like, I really miss my daughter. I hadn't seen my daughter once, right? I'm being treated like literally physically abusing, drug abusing, like even drug abusing abusers get to see their kids more than I did. I was isolated away from my child. I'm still being isolated away from her. This is nothing new. I told them this was going to happen. And the courts are so clogged up. And now DCF's like, oh, well, we don't gotta say what happens, the guardianship and stuff. That's not our role. And da da da. And I'm like, well, that's what you did for 8 months. Like, what are you talking about? And they're like, oh, let's not talk about the past. Let's not talk about the past. Let's not talk about the past. They still don't have a task plan, by the way. It's not legal. We'll get into that in another video. But yeah, how my friend got found out. So 3 months to the day, I happened to just check my daughter's location of where she was on my birthday because I missed her. I would have loved to have her over and just had cake and hung out with her. That would have made my day. It would have made my year, right? Fucking check her location. She's back at that motherfucking pedo's house. And this bitch literally must like plan for it or something because she told the girls to videotape any reaction I have that might be negative. anytime I'm yelling or I'm swearing,